I think in the meantime, I see 15 people in the meeting, so I assume that means that everybody is more or less there. So I propose that we start this breakout. I think we have around 20 minutes for this. The objective of this breakout is basically to give you also the possibility to ask us questions. That's the main goal. We're happy to share any more insights and knowledge on what we're doing. But the intention of this session is to have you guys give you the podium and ask questions or interact in any way you want. So our preference is also to start like this. It's quite a group. It's almost 20 now. So I propose not to do a round so that everybody can introduce themselves, but maybe if you speak, just briefly mention your name and your connection with the topic. Like, you know, I'm Mare, I'm from the Ocean Health Initiative, and we're looking for different ways to connect to the ocean through business models. If you do a short, brief introduction, everybody has the context, and I think that that helps a little bit. So is that a good way to start? So the floor is open. Anybody unmute if you've got any questions, if there's any things you want, specific things you want to know, contribute or anything else. And Martin, I see your hand going up, so please mute and share your thoughts and your questions.
Yeah, my name is Maarten van Herpen, and I've been supporting Van Oort a little bit on also shaping this program, looking at methane from the oceans. But my question is, René, maybe you can talk a bit about yourself, introduce yourself, and explain what your role is, because your role changed in this team. So I'm curious what your role is.
Interesting question, Maarten. Today, it's not about me, it's about you guys. I can give a small explanation maybe. So I think together with Mare, we have done this journey last year, setting up Ocean Health. Within Van Oort already, we had some initiatives on coral, on seagrass at E&E, some oyster tests, and we had the idea to put it together and to give it a bit more focus. To make sure we can make speed, and where the focus is mostly on the business model. Of course, we still do a lot of tests within E&E on the technical side, but to try to find what's the market and which clients are there, and to try to find the clients. So that's all in my role of a program manager, to set up the team, roll out the program, make the strategy for the program, and those kind of things. Is it clear, Maarten, for you?
Yes, I see a big thumbs up.
I cannot see it because I'm sharing my screen.
I see another question. Chris, is that right? Sorry, I cannot see the full names always. So if Chris, right?
Yeah, it's Chris McHugh. I'm from the University of Southampton. Just as background, I spent 25 years in investment banking, so I know Pierre, and I've kind of come to this project. I mean, having now joined the university, Southampton has a maritime institute, etc. So we were trying to figure out where we position ourselves with respect to sort of finance and oceans. My question for you is this: I've spent a lot of time working on green bonds, green financing, and it splits into two types. There's the sort of specific projects, and we heard quite a lot about specific ocean projects earlier. And then there's this wholesale corporate sort of behavior change, where corporates align themselves with certain metrics, and that's the scaling up. That's the real change, is when the large corporates start to think about, for example, emissions reductions. So just in the context of oceans, is that something that you have thought about, how you might influence the behavior of large corporations to sort of adopt oceans metrics into their sustainability goals?
Yes, well, I'm happy to answer that, and anybody in the room that feels interested to join or to add to that discussion, please do so, because we're also bringing only one part of the vision. So yes, I think it's basically what we're doing on the spot. So I very much believe, and that's also a little bit my background. I've got an entrepreneurial background. I've set up innovation programs in corporates. I've set up startups. I'm currently even setting up my own startup. And I've run Proxel, one of the largest maritime startup accelerators in the world, scouting and supporting many entrepreneurs. So for me, I very much believe in the approach of, going at markets and quickly validating whether there's any interest for any products or services. So, and that's basically also the approach of what we're doing. So we're not taking that from a very strategic point of view. It's not one of our strategies not to make sure that corporates start thinking differently on it. We're very much focused on the things that we can do, approaching corporates saying, hey, do you want to involve with us? So currently, I think we're talking to more than 10 corporates saying, hey, you've got to do something about your emissions and your compensation for CO2. What are you currently doing? And we think we have potential to scale that up together with you. And I think that's a way, in a very practical way, that in day-to-day discussions that with sustainability managers, with CEOs, with anybody involved, we're having this discussion, and hopefully they're also fueling and accelerating their own thinking on this perspective. So that's our very small contribution from an ocean health perspective. Of course, Van Noord itself has a broader corporate sustainability program, and they're involving in all kind of events and stuff like that. So that's also, but that's specifically the role that we are taking as Ocean Health, including, of course, all the exposure that we'll do with events like this, with our social media we started, speaking opportunities. So I mean, there's different ways, but that is basically the core of what we do. Is that any answer to your question? Anybody wants to contribute?
Thank you. Yeah.
Anybody specifically wants to contribute, Rogier or Han, or a different question?
I have a specific question which might align on the previous one. Hi, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Rogier Wilming, currently Business Development Director at 0 to 9, and we are a creative agency striving to work on happy people, happy business for a better world, and I'm here for the latter part. And I was wondering, is Ocean Health more like an initiator, developing or pursuing their own products, or are they more like a facilitator, bringing parties together, or what is or are they both? Maybe that can also be an answer to the question. How can Ocean Health be seen in that perspective?
Yeah, I think I mean, I've learned to answer the question shortly first and then elaborate. So the short answer, I mean, I think we're an initiator. That's where we want to be, right? So we want to create traction first ourselves, because doing that, you learn so much, right? Asking corporates, asking governments, working with startups to literally to start projects is giving us so much knowledge and information and insights on where's the real demand, where are the real bottlenecks. Is it financing? Is it new technology? Is it corporates that want to engage? So that for us is the starting point. Of course, I hope, and that's I think the journey that every initiative encounters when growing. You hope to have a broader role after that as soon as possible as well. So one of the things we're looking now to, we're looking in a way to, can we develop this mangrove field? We're having currently some corporates that want to engage in this from a CO2 offsetting perspective. But we also see that the project needs financing to actually be able to work. And that is where we are also going to approach the financing bodies, whether it's funds, whether it's governments, whether it's grants, whether it's investors, to see if we can make the story work. So I think the primary is the first. I think the further we grow and on the way, we'll be doing a little bit of the second as well, but that's not the prime focus. So is that a clear answer?
Yeah, definitely. Cool.
I see Das with a question. Is that right? Das?
Hi. Yeah. Hi. Good evening from India. I'm Swayam. And thank you. It's a very great discussions that we had earlier. I found two things missing, and probably if you could help me understand, is where are the communities, the local communities, where do they feature as part of these programs here? Because they are the beneficiaries end of the day. So how do you engage with them, and how do you put people in the center? And just to give you a context, I work with UNDP, so I would come from a whole SDG angle as well, where we put people at the center of it. The second question is the technology. How affordable and how accessible are these to communities, and what are the opportunities of training them to use them and getting them to be more hands-on with this? How do they use these technologies? The third is on the financing. We did talk about financing, blended finance and all, but I failed to see a conversation around blue bonds, which apparently is one of the discussion points, and it also emerges links to something that of a green bond. So when we say blue economy is an extension of land economy, so do we see that whole connect from green bonds to blue bonds? So there are three questions: communities, technology, and finance. And I feel all of them are interconnected. And I will also put another one to it, that is the gender aspect. So sorry if there's too much, but would like to hear responses.
You can put everything on the table you want. I'm already happy. I mean, your dedication, because I'm guessing, but I think you're past 9 your local time. So your dedication to join this session is already impressive, and I think all your questions are relevant. And I would almost want to say asking the questions is probably also answering the questions. So yeah, for us, again, it's a journey, but we've been involved in some projects, and you cannot do it without the local community. So the local community needs to be a part of it. I do want to say, I mean, I think it's a challenge. It's not easy. For me, it seems as something that is extremely relevant, but not easy. But it is crucial if you want to make long-term impact. So yeah, I cannot say a lot more on it than that, I would say. Is there anybody else that wants to comment on these questions around maybe the green or blue bonds or the technology? Please unmute if you want to contribute.
If I may just chip in, because on the green bonds, blue bonds, when you look at the difference between them, the advantage that green bonds I think have at the moment is the projects are quite granular, and you can point at a solar plant and you can see quite easily the flow of funds. I think the blue bond space is less mature, and I don't think the SDGs as they're defined in the targets map very nicely and neatly to the types of projects that can be done at the moment. So I think there's a bit of work to be done to sort of make those two things converge.
Anybody else contributing?
Yeah, yes, I think the parties who have to be involved in blue bonds, given that they are somewhere within a 200-mile zone of a particular coast, then or in any case in territorial water somewhere, are insurance companies, because they're carrying the impact of what is happening on in the coastal zones in many cases. And some of them are actively engaged at the moment, among them Zurich Re. We're having a conversation also, I'm Delan from Natural Capital Ventures, with the reinsurance company in Nigeria, because the coast of West Africa is extremely exposed. You have one big problem, of course, if you're doing something with ocean health near a coast, and that is that community rights. So Swayam Prabha, you mentioned indeed community rights. They are a blessing, but they're also a problem, because if you want to get CO2 rights to the improvements that you made, say to mangroves or to seagrass near a coast or whatever, it's very hard to register your CO2 rights if the ownership is maybe a community ownership, or maybe a local or a provincial ownership, or a combination of all of the above. And those are the processes that are holding up extremely large mangrove and coastal restoration programs in the Bay of Bengal, for instance, or in West Africa, the Central America, the coast of Chile, and so forth, all the way down. So if we can find some way to ameliorate that problem, I think that would be key.
Well, thank you, Dil. And yeah, really, I like that contribution. And one of the reasons we're also talking to Swiss Re. So I think in many of these aspects, it's complex situations. There is potential, and I think the potential is growing. And we need different players with smart solutions to make some impact. And I think we're only just at the start. Maybe Anne Lindeboom, I saw your hand up, although it's down again. I don't know if you still have a question, but feel free to.
Very briefly, Han Liddenboom, working on a Delta program to save the coral reefs in the Dutch Caribbean islands. I actually had a remark on the screen because you have this big, you have your screen sharing on, and I can see a big it's open with questions. But if you take that away, we can see each other. That's very good. Thank you. Excellent. And my question is, I was very intrigued with your sargassum story. And but do we also have projects that are looking at on how can we avoid sargassum? I mean, can we tackle the problem at the start? We can use the material. That's great, but it's a big problem on some of the beaches. Do we know ways how to do something about that before it reaches the beaches?
Anybody wants to contribute to that? So do we have ways?
Yeah. Yes, we do actually.
Yeah.
There are several companies, quite a few of them are in, I think there are a couple even in Holland, but there's also companies in Israel that are building along the coasts of rivers and places where, of course, this excess of nutrients enters the water. They're building new grasses and riverbanks that can naturally catch the extra nutrients and so that they don't enter the sea in the first place.
Yeah, because the nutrients are the basic what is it? The origin of these blooms, right?
Yes, that's what causes them.
Yeah, yeah.
So these are quite sophisticated systems. They have different types of plants that interact with each other. They have different types of structures that can be actually built on land and even lowered along riverbanks. They're like a marshland, actually, that they create artificially.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I also see a hand from Laura. Can you please mute and share your question with us?
Hi, I'm Laura. Thank you so much for hosting such an interesting conversation. I could stay here forever. I'm guessing I'm not the only one. My background is in journalism, so I've been an investigative journalism for the last basically decade of my life, and towards the end of it, mostly environmental stuff, which led me to create a communication agency dedicated to the sea. So we basically put storytelling in service of the ocean. So we're working on that side, the awareness side of scaling, basically. But I think it's interesting because a lot of the insights that we have are probably parallel on the other side. Like we have a lot of insights from different actors because we work with a variety of people from like NGOs and scientists to actual startups and people who are working on technology. And a lot of the insights are about their need for better business models. So I think we're probably seeing the same issue from both perspectives. I guess my question fundamentally would be, what are the most pressing needs you see in terms of communication, or the biggest challenges that you see within your network? One that comes to mind obviously is the issue of like greenwashing, and it just being harder to distinguish maybe for the consumer to judge or to assess. But yeah, I wonder what are some of the communication challenges that you see on your end?
Well, if I can say that it's been quite a part of the journeys I've been in. I've been building some different initiatives over the last 10 years from corporate perspective as from startup perspective. I think in this case, and I think it's in most cases, simplifying what we see. So there's a lot of people involved, and we see what with we do, but also with the clients that we work. Everybody is working very much in their own silo with a very high level technical knowledge. But that makes it so extremely difficult for people to join or to contribute or to even be interested and inspired, right? So I think, for example, we try to do that with the name of our initiative. It's Ocean Health. You know, it's you can restoration of ecosystems, and you lost 90% of your audience that's not in oceans, right? Because what ecosystems? What is restoration? What is it's already complex. So I think in working with because also, especially in this field, you see quite also from different blood groups, people come together, and then it becomes even more important. Like it's already important if you people in the same that are in the same tunnel, but especially now you work with different. You got NGOs, local NGOs with local communities. You got corporates, you got startups, you got researchers, and they all talk 100% different languages. So I think there's the biggest challenge and also the biggest gain. So you know, all of us simplifying what we're doing, simplifying, explaining what impact we try to make and why it's important, and how we do it. That means it's never technically right what you're saying, and that's the difficulty because we all want to be technically right. But it does mean that you're growing the movement, as I call it, and I really like that. Anybody else wants to contribute to that topic?
Can I come in from India, Swayam?
Of course.
What I found interesting when I was working with WWF on the marine program was that sometimes when you say things, it's not very easy to understand probably. So exposure visits actually were very handy. So if you want somebody to invest or someone to probably take an interest in the work that you're doing, take them to the place and let them feel it. That really worked for me to raise some good funds for the marine fisheries work that we did or marine turtle work that we did. The second thing is, how do you do it in infographics and in local languages? So that is very important because as already, forgive my pronunciation, but as Mayor just said that, how simplified it is. So if you're working with the communities or working at the local level, it's very important to speak in the very local language. Probably support it with infographics, which is very easy. Pictures are easy to actually relate to. And so that makes things much easier. So that has been my take from the work I did with the communities in the field.
Yeah,
thank
beautiful.
you.
Thank you very much for your contribution. I really like that. And one of the critical aspects of your first one is compensates for the flights, right? Because that means people are flying all over the planet, which is also impacting, I think, what we all do. And that's especially also we try to do that as we work. We're coming to the end of our session. So Janine, I see you still have a question. Maybe we can take that offline. You can connect with us. Happy to do that. I'll make sure I'll post email address in the chat. That's for anybody of you that wants to connect. Feel free to send me an email or send anybody in the team an email. We can continue this discussion. I think currently we're posting the links to the other rooms because our first 20 minutes done. So there is a second round. So you're free to choose another one of the breakout rooms. And I believe if you click on the link that Joy just posted into the chat, you see 1, 2. It comes out a bit strange for me, but I hope you can connect them. It's the main stage. It's the Connect Ocean Health. It's the product room for mangroves, the product room for corals, the product room for seaweed, and to connect the speed dating room if you're just interested in a wild guess and meeting new people in the oceans field. So thank you very much all for joining. I hope you valued this discussion. Of course, for us, it's just the start of the discussion, so we hope to continue discussion after this. And we hope you enjoyed and valued this event. Go to the next breakout room if you want, and then hope to see you soon again. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, welcome, guys. I hope your first session was a nice session as well. This is a bit more general one. We're talking about the ocean health in general and about the business models we discussed before. In this session are Joy, myself, René, and Mare. Mare, you've seen in the beginning as well, doing the presentation for ocean health. And next slide, please. Next slide. Thanks. So this session is here to have some questions as well, a bit of discussion. I think it's good if we connect on the things we discussed in the first meeting. So we're really curious about you guys joining us. So what are you doing in the ocean health domain at the moment, and how are you related? Can we connect? So we are really curious about the things you're doing and the questions you have for the first part of the presentations. So I think we have only 20 minutes. So if you, I will have a look at the chat, people raising their hands. I will try to give them the word, maybe a short introduction like, hey, my name is René Kersten. I'm working for Oceans Health, and I'm here today to share XYZ. Maybe it's nice to have a short introduction of yourself, and I try to give as much as people the word, so we can learn from each other today. So let me have a look at the chat. I see already some people raising their hands. Who's raising their hands? If you're raising your hand, please unmute yourself and speak up. If you are someone else who has a question about the first session we started with. So someone is raising his hand. I don't know who it is. Doesn't really matter. Does someone wants to ask something about the initiative Ocean Health? Oh, I see a hand from René Koolman.
Yeah, indeed. It's a Van Oort initiative. I'm Secretary General of the International Association of Dredging Companies. Van Oort is one of the larger members of this association. Normally, all these initiatives are having to deal with that they give them a competitive advantage. How open is this initiative to other companies?
Yeah, thank you for asking that question.
You're muted, Mare.
You can hear me through René's computer. We're sitting next to each other. I can also mute myself, but if you can hear me, we'll keep it like this. It makes it easier. All this digital, you can do everything with it these days. No, so this is not really what this is the basis for this initiative. So I think we're open for any cooperation. I think that's what the new. I myself am from the maritime industry. Sometimes you see there a very old-fashioned competitive attitude towards, if I do this best, I kick the other one out, and I'll become better of it. I don't think that's what this is about. So that's why we also gave it a new name and a new visual, because we think this is a different battle. This is a battle for our oceans. We need to make impact for our oceans. And yes, we're looking through the lens of the economical, lens, because we think there's the biggest opportunity to scale this up to the size and speed that the oceans need. But that's where it is. So I think the whole, of course, I think because that's partly the industry we're in, of course, there will be a competitive movements, ideas, and structures, but that's not how we're building this up. So we're building this up as a startup, quickly finding its market, quickly scaling up its products and solutions, quickly trying to find additional clients and additional ways to make it happen where the whole business model is not complete and rounded yet, and that's where our focus is. So yeah, it's actually at this moment, and that's also how I'm building this initiative. I try to keep that whole competitive thinking out of scope this moment. And if somebody's quicker and better at us than we are, then we just weren't good enough. So we have to be better and quicker, right?
I can find you on the internet.
What do you say, René?
Yeah, I can find you on the internet. You have a website to connect.
Yeah. So basically, the best way to connect with us is the LinkedIn, and we have a LinkedIn that where you can connect with us directly, and you can email me. We're currently still working on the website that will be launched pretty soon, I guess.
You're located in Rotterdam?
Yeah, prime location currently is in Rotterdam. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for your question.
Hi, I'll go next. I'm Lauren Quiros. I'm a marine scientist, and I have a bit more specialty in single-use plastic life cycle assessment. And then I also have been working for a aquaculture investment fund in the Netherlands, in Utrecht. So I think it's been a really great bridge to see how the science field works along with the marketing, the investment fund, and trying to build this gap of communication that I've seen has come up within the couple of years I've been working within this field. So that's the two worlds I've been trying to understand and bridge together. So with that being said, I would like to know how the Ocean Initiative that you're trying to do, are you going after companies? Are you asking them to supplement a certain project to compensate for maybe what they've been doing negatively to the ocean? Like how exactly are you going about pursuing different companies? I think, Mari, I heard you talk about this in your last presentation, so I'm just a bit more curious how you're going and getting either this initiative across to different companies, corporations, consumers, investment funds. How are you doing that?
Thanks, Lauren. Great question, by the way. So at the moment, I think we do all of them at the same time. So that's why we're running around like a startup, try to make impact and do all the things at the same time. But in time, we will figure out how to do it best. I think at the moment, we're really looking to like concrete pilots or projects, which we can do. For instance, in Cancun, Mexico, Mozambique, Curacao, and then like flip the coin. So if we have a project, try to do something somewhere, we try to find funding. Maybe we need an NGO, local NGO ourselves. Maybe we need a startup with the right technique. And then from that, building on the project. But at the same time, we have a lot of projects all over the world as Van Oord, and we also can make impact there. So if there's a project somewhere where we can make impact with one of our solutions, for instance, growing coral, which we already do at certain projects, we can also offer this solution.
Has there been an increase in, like, let's use an example like Shell? I think I saw Shell emblem. Have they been reaching out to you to kind of compensate for what they're doing, still using fossil fuels, and then they're putting money into like the seaweed initiatives or projects? Like, is that something that is happening at the moment?
I will ask Mara to answer this one. You had the contact with Shell last week, right?
Yeah, I think we see a growth of interest, so to say. We are actively approaching these companies.
Yeah.
So first of all, we're pretty new at this, so nobody's really looking for us yet. Second of all, it's the best way for us to learn where there is desire and demand and traction. We find, and that's, I think that's basically, I've got a quite wide background in startup field and setting up new companies and validating with markets and clients. Yeah, Shell is not Shell, and KLM is not KLM, and Total is not Total, and so these companies have very different layers and different officers. So we have had companies where the sustainability manager said, not so relevant for us, but the CEO said, wow, this is inspiring. We need to do more of this, right? And vice versa. So for us, it's basically the target is to go after as many of these companies as possible. I think the momentum is growing quickly, especially because these are quite traditional industries we're talking about, and I think also because they're further away from the end consumer. And but the mindset is changing. But you need to be at the right spot with the right people at the right moment. And that basically means you need to have a lot of conversations. And that's what we're building this team. So we're actually looking for business developers at this moment to grow that capacity only so that we can speak as many of these people as possible. And that's a big challenge. Shell, beautiful example. They were very, very concretely looking for projects that we could do together for CO2 compensation. But you probably can find thousands of people in Shell that think CO2 compensation is not relevant or whatever, right? So that's how this works. That's also in our parent company, but that's what we encounter everywhere.
Okay, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you for your question.
Other people want to give a brief introduction about what they're doing, they're working on, and how we can connect. I see a hand from Edward Gilding.
Yeah,
please.
thank you. Edward, working for Innovation Quarter. I think Mara knows good what we do. We are investing and helping also with business development for companies in the region of South Holland. I've learned a lot today about ocean health because it's not typically one of our focus areas, and I really like the thorough approach you are doing, identifying the markets. But still, also for me, it's difficult to grasp what are the major challenges by scaling up all these demonstrations, whether that is finding the clients, finding the funding, developing new R&D facilities. So that is also for me still a question which I have in my mind, like what needs to be tackled to take the scaling up further.
Good question, Edward. I think it really depends on the product we're focusing on. For instance, if we want to do a pilot around mangroves, we have a background in doing this. It's at the same time we're putting effort in doing R&D. There's a PhD years working on. We have a whole department with ecologists and environmental engineers working on it. So that's in the background what we do anyhow. We have to do our homework, but at the same time we have to set up a project, for instance, in Mozambique, which is of course not easy, working with local government, working with all the stakeholders there. And so, but as for North, I think we have done this before. We know how to work in those countries and what like safety is. But I think for ocean health, we can make a lot of speed, like contacting the right people there and try to find how to make the business model. I think it really depends. So it depends on which project or pilot you're working on. So some pilots really need more technical research. That's something we can do quite easy. We have close connections with the university in Rotterdam and technical university in Delft. But at the same time, we need to build on relationships externally, how to cope with different stakeholders, how to work with certain banks. But we're expanding our team, so we don't have only engineers in a team. I think we don't have a lot actually, because we have a lot of engineers within Van Noord. So we're searching for like bankers, business developers, those kind of people to make the team more in balance to tackle the problems we've seen at the moment. Yes.
And maybe if I can add to that, so I think also that the main thing that we need is creativity. You know, the drive to find new solutions, because none of the fields that we're going has finalized paths or finalized solutions or finalized partnerships or finalized, local involvement or it's all to be designed at the spot. And that's one of the crucial aspects. I think the other one is then to keep on focusing on scalability. If we keep on doing things only on a project by project basis or local community by local community basis, it will never have the scale that the ocean needs. I mean, then will take us literally 150 years to go to all these communities, not just us, but us as a community, you and me and everybody in the call. It will literally take us 150 years to do all that with the local communities and with all the parties. So where's the scalability? And that's why this is also the central topic of at least from our perspective for today, is we need to focus on the scalability, because otherwise it's a lost battle. We're basically not making any impact that's relevant for our climate challenge.
I see another question coming up from Stefan Hart. Stefan, please amuse yourself.
Hello, I'm Stephen Hart. I'm from the European Investment Bank. My day job is I manage the natural capital financing facility. I'm a little bit. I'm sorry, I had to step out for about half an hour. There's another meeting, so just stepped in again. So perhaps you've covered this, but I'm a bit curious. I mean, how Van Noord, say internally, say financially, is dealing with this issue. I mean, are you seeking to in a way provide finance yourself on your own corporate balance sheet into some of these startups and ideas, or do you see yourself more in a kind of facilitating role, to connect finances with the projects, or are you looking for some own participation in a way in these ideas?
Well, if I can take that one, I don't think I take this from a goal, from objectives perspective. The objective is to create business models that are scalable, that fix erosions, and that's where we start. So we're looking for product market combinations where we can start implementing things. And these product market combinations probably need some bridge financing because they will not be, break even or profitable in the beginning. They need to be at some point for it to really scale, right? It's just like what happened with offshore wind, 15, 20 years bridge financing. So I think the initiative itself, so we've set us up as more or less as a startup within a corporate, right? So we're trying to be that speedboat around that corporate and to go fast. So we will go to Van Noord when we need for specific projects. We have specific needs, but we will not only go to Van Noord, right? So Van Noord for us is one of the many players in this field, and especially, and that's very much this is also for us a change management perspective, right? So I also have with our initiative, we have a message for Van Noord. If with the first time we're going to Van Noord saying, you need to finance this. That is not a message internally saying, hey, this is something, very potential that we need to watch. This is, one of the many initiatives that's asking for money. So we're also looking for a way to smartly communicate this with the mother company, so to say, to let them understand and see what the potential is here. And yes, I think very soon that might mean that Van Noord will take a role in this. But we have not predefined that. It will be very dependent on the projects that we encounter and see potential. Is that an answer to your question, Stefan?
Yeah, I think that's clear.
Let's see if we have other questions. Oh, it's about time. It's 4 o'clock. I see one more hand. I think we can do the last question before people have to go to other meetings probably. Last question from office. We don't see your name. Please unmute yourself.
You do not see my name, and I apologize for that. My name is Marisa Borsboom. I'm the chairwoman of the Chamber of Commerce Portugal, Netherlands, Portugal. And I just take the opportunity because you were talking about Mozambique and creativity. We will have very soon a co-event with the Netherlands African Business Council that is focused also in Mozambique. And I think creativity is also changing sometimes a little bit the mindsets by also reaching other people that want to help. So this institution is really also providing a lot of support, and I think that potentially would be an idea to specifically for Mozambique to see this as a potentiator for what needs to be done, and so ambitiously is put it.
You want to take this on?
Yeah, I mean, this is basically a contribution, right? So I think this is what we're looking for, right? These kind of connections is what we need to make, and we need more of that, but at a high speed. So that's all our challenge. I think also with that, I'm looking at the time. I think we're already 4 minutes over time, and probably you guys all have next meetings. So I think we're here to close off.
Yeah. I want to thank everybody for now. So in the chat, we put a small message. So if we need more time, you can reconnect. You can reach us on the email or follow the Oceans Health Initiative via LinkedIn. We're working on our own email address as well. That's coming up. But for now, this will do. I really want to thank you for your input and your really good questions. I'm happy to see so much people today joining our event, and I hope to see you in future, maybe another event, or contact us via LinkedIn. So thank you everybody for now. I think this is the final session. We won't go to the general one. So it's the end of the event, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Ciao, ciao.
Thank you.
See you later. Bye-bye.